water coming out of the manhole, that lower solids, lower VOD, and lower.
I didn't know that.
No, that's,
And the water passing
But I know that.
because of the first flush. Sure. First flush.
Good afternoon. It is May 6th. It's 2 o'clock, and I'd like to call to order the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust meeting. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the April 22nd meeting. Any questions or comments regarding the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval? Motion is second, and it passes. Next up is the consent docket. Number of items on the consent docket. Most of our amendments, and change orders on it, a couple of projects to be put out for bid. Some revocable permits, and of course, the ratification of payments. Is there anything on the consent docket, the questions that the trustees have questions about, or any items that the trustees would like to pull for individual consideration? I see none. Therefore, is there a motion for approval? And it passes. There is no concurrence docket. There are no items on the emergency construction contract list. Therefore, we'll move from two items for individual consideration. And this is a big day because we have both the presentation and adoption of the capital improvement plan and the annual budget. Vanessa, are you going to join us this morning?
First up is Haining Schoeneman.
Oh, I'm sorry. First is capital.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Trustees. My name is Haining Schoeneman, and I am with the Utilities Department. In today's presentation, I'll first present a recap of fiscal year 2025 spending. Then I'll present to you an overall spending plan for the next 5 fiscal years. I'll break down this plan into water, sewer, and solid waste management. At the end, we'll have some time for questions. On this slide, I have a summary of the projected expenditure of fiscal year 2025 in each category. Last year, when this group met, we presented that there was not sufficient funds to carry out all the programs that we identified as needing to be completed.
For the record, there have never been adequate funds to satisfy the program.
This year, due to the rate adjustment, we now do have sufficient funds to carry out the programs. Some will need to be deferred in awarding into the next year. For example, Second Atoka pipeline project, Stonewall pump station project will be awarded in July 2025 instead of previously planned June 2025 due to financing availability. Ideally, we want to carry out all the projects that we have budgeted for. However, there are many challenges. New regulations mandate us to come up with new solutions in biosolids management, such as the issue of dealing with PFOS and PFAS. The continued rising cost in both O&M and capital creates constraints and requires us to set priorities to meet the needs of the O&M first. And it creates more challenge in cost projection. Related with the procurement cost is the unpredictable lead time in both equipment and material, and the volatile construction cost. We do not have abundant resources in the construction market. And all of these can be exacerbated by future policy change beyond our control. To meet these challenges, we designed a 5-year capital improvement plan totaling $2.7 billion. Water is the largest category. It accounts for more than 60% of the total funding. The programs reflect our major goal to enhance the utility system resiliency and reliability. And all regulatory requirements must be met throughout all the projects. This is the projected budget for the next 5 fiscal years for the water category. As you can see, the major spending falls into 2 buckets. They are resiliency and reliability and water supply. The variability of spending from year to year reflect our program cycle. We design and construct Second Atoka Pipeline program to plan our future water supply. By the end of this fiscal year, there will be 2 projects in closeout and 4 coming up in the next fiscal year. It is the intent to award all the projects by the end of fiscal year 2026 and focus on the construction in fiscal year 2027 and 2028. Here's an overview of our largest water program, Second Atoka Pipeline. Green represents all the projects that are currently under construction. Stonewall Pump Station is the next one to be awarded. We plan to complete all the projects, segments, and pump stations in fiscal year 2029. In addition to Second Atoka Pipeline program, here are the major water CIP programs we plan to complete in the next 5 fiscal years. SARDIS water supply program will ensure reliable water supply through 2060. On-site chlorine generation projects at Draper and Hafner water treatment plants will alleviate safety concern and reduce O&M costs. The programs such as Western Interconnect, Overhoser Dam structural stability, water main replacement, all reflect our major goal to enhance the water system's resiliency and reliability and minimize the likelihood of future service disruptions. This is the projected budget of the sewer category in the next 5 fiscal years. Sewer accounts for 35% of the total budget. Just like water, resiliency and reliability accounts for the largest spending. The variability of the spending from year to year also reflect the program cycle. We plan to award the construction of Deer Creek Wastewater Treatment Plant expansion project in fiscal year 2028. Here are the major sewer CIP projects that we plan to carry out in the next 5 fiscal years. These are the major projects such as Deer Creek expansion projects that we just mentioned, Deer Creek odor management and electrical improvements, at various wastewater treatment plants. And all these programs and projects reflects not only our goal to enhance the sewers system's resiliency and reliability, provide an opportunity for improvement, but also reflect the growth in the general area. This is the projected budget of the solid waste category in the next 5 fiscal years, totaling $40 million. The spending from year to year is fairly consistent, expenditure-wise, compared with water and sewer category. And here are the major programs we plan to carry out in the next 5 fiscal years. And they are solid waste operations center improvement, cart replacement, and equipment replacement programs. This concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions? Well, I have a few. It's $2.7 billion over 5 years. That's roughly $700,000 a year. Or $700 million a year. And in a minute here, we're going to hear from Vanessa, and it might be time to have Vanessa come up now, because our annual revenues are $500 million of without bond dollars in there. And most of these projects are funded with debt, I understand. And so what's our annual debt service presently?
Our projected annual service for FY26 is about $80 million.
About $80 million. But $80 million, it's, and I've been through the workshops, I've been through the briefings when we've done the rates. I've been in meetings where we've cut back on capital over the years, and I understand it. But I'm still worried that we have a $2.8 billion capital project and revenues, annual revenues of $500 million. And our ability to cover that debt and what that does for us, not only in the next 5 years, but for future beyond that. And every time we issue debt, and I ask the same question, that, you know, we're good, we're honoring our bond covenants, we're honoring our coverage ratios as we go forward. But it still seems fairly ominous with those numbers, and only $80 million a year. And for debt service, and are we doing any PAYGO?
There is a PAYGO component of it, and so there
Is that
are.
is that in the 80, or is that beyond the 80? Beyond the 80 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How much is that?
Our PAYGO component in any given year, I'd
Just
have
roughly.
to 40% of our 1.3 billion of the 500 million. So we're
Will be 40% will be paid for. Okay. It doesn't add up for me real quick, but I do trust you.
So with our financial planning, when we look at the capital program that we're able to execute, we do the 30-year outlook, and we look at what are the revenue requirements in order to fund not only the PAYGO component of the capital program, but also the debt service. So both the debt service, the principal and interest element, and the PAYGO is something that we look at for the revenue requirements. And so our next 5-year period of revenue adjustment, as well as how we smoothed in those revenue adjustments for the 10-year period, do account for the capital program for the next 5 years, but also for the next 10 years, and we smooth those in. We do anticipate our debt service to almost triple by the end of the 10-year period. That is incorporated in the financial plan outlook. We still maintain our ratios, whether it's the fixed charge coverage and the 2 times coverage ratio during that time.
Mr. Chairman, the plan is about a 40-60, PAYGO 40%.
I remember that.
Right, so if you look at the 2.7 billion, 40% of that would be covered by cash, by PAYGO. So we're under 200 million a year to cover that, the PAYGO.
But you're not anywhere close to that when you've got $500 million in revenue.
And so part of our funding approach also is we have an interest-only element of the financing. So both with our SRF component, with our commercial paper, we do short-term financing,
Right.
which is interest-only. We're also looking at doing 40-year financing for some of these assets, which will help with the useful life of these assets. We extend the economic element of it as well.
So the largest, I think, single component of the wastewater is the Chisholm Deer Basins. It's $300+ million, right?
No, sir, it's probably closer to 200 million.
Okay. So remind me of what direction we're going out there. We looked at, combining the plants and putting them out at Cottonwood at one point in time, or?
Yeah, we've done the evaluation, and it's not a cost-effective evaluation, but what we are going to do is when we expand Deer Creek, we're going to include solids handling for Chisholm. And also, we're using bulk hypochlorite at Chisholm right now, so we're going to build a bulk hypochlorite on-site generation facility at Deer to handle both facilities. So there is some combining of facility requirements for the two plants at Deer Creek.
But ultimately, they will be improved and expanded in their present locations.
Chisholm is not up for expansion, Deer is. Deer Creek will go from 15 to 20 million, and that's being solicited, the design's being solicited as we speak.
But we're going to have to do some improvements because aren't we going to have to hit tighter
No.
discharge requirements?
No, we're going to stay at tertiary according to
Okay.
the engineering
The
study.
208.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's good. That's good. All right. Other questions? All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the capital budget? I guess we're improving the 5-year Water Utilities Trust capital improvement plan. We have a motion and a second, and it passes. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, Chairman and Trustees. Vanessa Aguilar with the Utilities Department, here to present the FY26 Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust budget. With me, I have our financial planning team that has helped put and prepared this budget over the last 6 to 9 months. We have Lindsay Nunn, Brian Beck, David Wagner, and Anita Benton that helped put this budget together, and I just want to pause and take a moment of appreciation for all their hard work over the last several months. So thank you. So with that, I'll go into the next slide on our mission statement is our commitment to providing water, wastewater, and trash collection services throughout central Oklahoma to safeguard public health, the environment, support public safety, and enable economic prosperity. Several years ago, the department established core business initiatives that guide our strategic business planning and our annual budgeting planning process. Each of our budget initiatives in any given year align to one or more of these core business initiatives. These include safety, our commitment to providing a safe work environment for our employees and for the public. Customer service, providing quality customer service and meeting expectations for effective service delivery. Water supply, we continue to secure additional water supplies and reliably deliver the water to central Oklahoma. System resiliency and reliability, we continue our efforts to maintain and upgrade all of our utility systems to enhance the reliability and resiliency of our systems to minimize the likelihood of a service disruption. Financial management. Strong financial management is one of our key policies to ensure that we maintain our AAA credit ratings assigned by S&P and Moody's, which allows us to issue debt at the lowest borrowing cost available. Regulatory compliance.
That was for Councilman Stone's benefit. If he'd been here, he would have liked that a lot.
Regulatory compliance. We're committed to full compliance with regulations and directives of all regulatory agencies. Now, as we get into our snapshot of funding sources for this upcoming year, we have a $1.3 billion budget planned for Aquit, and the sources include, the primary source is debt construction fund proceeds to fund a portion of our capital program. Of the $732 million, $576 million is planned to finance water projects. $156 million is planned to fund wastewater projects. The next largest category is a combination of our service charges, $517 million that we receive for our water, wastewater, and solid waste services that we provide to our utility customers. Thereafter, we have some withdrawals from cash reserves of approximately $22 million. This was cash set aside in the current fiscal year for projects that are being rescheduled and planned for award in the upcoming fiscal year, about $21 million for water and $1 million for solid waste capital project. Other sources of $8 million include revenues that we get for a billing services fee chargeback. Aquit has its own billing system, and it provides the billing and payment collection service on behalf of other entities of the city. Other sources also includes interest from our operating bank accounts, surplus, proceeds from damage, and other items. System development charges of approximately $6 million. That's $5 million forecasted for water system development charges and about $1 million for wastewater system development charges. These are the fees that are assessed when there's a connection to our system that contribute back to the development of the system. Flow fee revenues of $2 million. These are fees that are assessed for haulers that are disposing of waste at landfills within the Oklahoma City limits. Those revenues are remitted back to the solid waste management utility to fund our environmental cleanup program along the right-of-ways. Non-ratepayer activities are our recreational or non-operating activities, about $1 million. These revenue proceeds include boat stalls, boat permits, leases, royalties, etc. Now on to our funding uses, how we plan to execute our budget this coming year. Again, that largest portion that you see there is the capital improvement portion at approximately 70% of our budget. Approximately $257 million includes deferrals from the current fiscal year into FY26. That's primarily due to financing capacity limitations. We do intend for those projects to be awarded within the first 6 months of the fiscal year, as Haining mentioned. The breakdown of that $897 million, approximately $678 million is for water projects, $211 million is for wastewater projects, and $9 million is for solid waste management projects. The largest program element of our capital improvements is the Second Atoka Pipeline, securing those additional water supplies. The next element of our funding uses is our city utilities operations budget. This is our city-funded portion of our budget at $112 million. This goes to fund employee salaries and benefits, day-to-day services and supplies related to the division's operation. This does represent approximately 94% of the proposed budget for the utilities department for FY26. The proposed budget is $119 million. The differential that you see between that number and what we show here as our planned use is we have included in our proposed budget salary reserves and operating reserves. While we budget for the authority of those items in any given year, those are items that we don't necessarily plan or intend to use, but they are there for strong financial management purposes. Trust operations, $110 million. These are our operations expenses out of the trust, and which include multi-year contracts. It includes franchise fees, lease payments, outsourced contracts such as pavement, mowing, Napa contract. It includes all of our billing system, licensing, support costs, professional services such as financial advisor, outside legal counsel. It includes electricity and chemicals as well. Our debt service for this coming year is projected at $81 million. This includes both principal and interest for our long-term debt service, as well as temporary interest on construction drawdown periods. Solid waste service contracts, $52 million. This includes a contract that we have with Waste Management for residential trash collection services, bulky and recycling at almost $40 million, as well as other contracts such as landfill, street sweeping, and fleet maintenance as well. We also outsource the operations and maintenance of our wastewater treatment facilities. That's projected to be about $26 million for this coming year. This includes the contract estimate, as well as electricity and other expenses related to the operations and maintenance of our 4 wastewater facilities. Aqua has an agreement of support with the McGee Creek Authority to help fund operations, maintenance, and improvements. For this upcoming year, we're looking at a projection of approximately $9 million. Non-repair activities, $1 million. These are planned expenses related to recreational upkeep, maintenance, and non-operating as well. As we go into a little bit more detail on our city utilities operations budget, overall, we're looking at approximately a 6% change from the FY25 original adopted budget for the utilities department compared to the FY26 proposed budget. That's approximately a $6.6 million adjustment. The table on this slide shows you that breakdown of those increases and decreases on each of the line items. Annual salary and benefit adjustments for our employees, that's approximately $4.1 million. We have a slight reduction to salary reserves, and that's primarily due to the realignment of the forecast of cost of living adjustments for the upcoming year, so about 1.2 million true up there. Department position improvements, we have $231,000 there. We're adding 2 facility plant and mechanic 2s, and we are also doing some other position enhancements within that as well.
How many additional positions total?
We have 2 additional
Just
positions.
2? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Our department services and supply improvements budget, we're looking at an additional $3.6 million to ensure our divisions have adequate funding for services and supplies, primarily driven through inflationary cost adjustments. City chargebacks, we see a slight reduction of $184,000. City chargebacks include support services that we receive from the city, whether it's administrative, risk, IT, property support as well. Now, even though Aqua is not sales tax funded, we have mirrored the city's initiative to have a conservative budget for this upcoming year by adding the 2 facility and plant mechanic 2 positions for an overall employee count of 828 employees. Now, as we go into a little bit more detail into some of the initiatives, water treatment facilities. One of the first programs that we have here is preventative maintenance improvements. The department recently conducted an in-house evaluation of all of our assets and associated components for our facilities and the required preventative maintenance work necessary for each one of those. What we found was we have approximately 4,000 assets at Hefner Water Treatment Plant, which creates approximately 1,200 preventative maintenance work orders that are necessary, whether it's monthly, quarterly, or annually. Furthermore, with our construction in progress projects that we have, once those are complete, that will create an additional 2,000 assets at the Hefner Water Treatment Facility. Our staffing or resource analysis determined that additional staffing is needed over the years to help keep up with the preventative maintenance that's required in order to make sure that we are using our equipment, we're protecting that lifespan, and reducing downtime and increasing efficiency at our facilities. With that, we're proposing to add the 2 facility and plant mechanic 2s. We're also adjusting our overtime budget for best practices in financial management. This is primarily due to the nature of operations of our water treatment plants. We have 4 shifts that go 24/7, and our work week, in some instances, are 48-hour work weeks. So due to the nature of the shifts, it's inherent to incur overtime hours. So we're adjusting our overtime budget appropriately to ensure there's adequate funding. In addition, some overtime has been driven by the maintenance needs needed at the plant, corrective maintenance, work orders needed, emergency repairs. The last item that we have on here is our pumping stations maintenance program improvements. We're doing a position enhancement by adding a planner scheduler to enhance the efficiency of maintenance operations in this group, which will enable them to have planned and scheduled work. You can imagine with a city size of over 620 square miles and managing multiple pump stations along the pipeline, the drinking booster stations, storage tanks, this position will help us to efficiently manage our resources, minimizing travel time and ensuring the work is done on a day-to-day basis efficiently. This slide here is a graphic that talks a little bit more about our preventative maintenance to corrective maintenance goals. Our goal is to have a 80% to a 20% ratio preventative maintenance to corrective maintenance. That's the goal that you see there on the dotted line. We have a 5-year history for you that shows in the blue portion of the bar chart is showing you the preventative maintenance work order completed. In the light gray or the top part of that column, you see the corrective maintenance work orders. You can see over time as we've added additional assets to the system and as we've had some staffing challenges, you can see that slight decline over the years in our preventative maintenance work orders with the goal of, with the addition of 2 facility plant mechanic 2s in the upcoming year, we'll be able to shift upwards. Other adjustments to our budget, as I mentioned, adjustments to supplies and services. One of the reasons primarily driven by inflationary cost adjustments that we're seeing across various departments, including our inventory, our warehouse, line maintenance, and water quality, wastewater quality, and some in engineering for service contracts. Additionally, we're doing adjustments for our call center translation services. Several years ago, we implemented a pilot program within our utilities customer call center, which enabled the use of third-party language translation services. At the time when we implemented the program, we estimated potentially a demand of 150 calls per month. Currently, we're seeing a demand of 560 calls per month. So we're seeing success and adoption with this program, and so we're adjusting the funding to ensure that we are meeting customer service demands. Additionally, within the last year, the Utilities Department adjusted its policy for funding safety footwear and uniforms for employees to include probationary employees to ensure that everyone has the safety footwear and equipment necessary to do their work. Some of our leading for results or LFR measures that speak to the customer service line item is percentage of customer service calls answered within 30 seconds of first ring. On this chart, you can see in the green dotted line our target, which is 85%. You can see our actual performance in the orange line, and the blue bar chart shows you the number of calls that we did answer within 30 seconds. To give you some context for the history here over the 5 years, FY21 into FY22, we're coming out of COVID. We're seeing some staffing challenges there. We had a portal implementation in FY20. As we go into FY24, we've mitigated some of those staffing challenges. We've been training our CSR, and we've also implemented a billing system upgrade, which enabled efficiencies within our call center as well. Another initiative for this coming year, we have a reorganization within the department, which includes the creation of a new division. The Financial Services Division will have approximately 30-plus employees reorganized from its former Administration Support Services group. This group is responsible for managing short-term and long-term financial plans, the budgeting and appropriations, purchasing and payables, contracts management, property management, and financial management for our Tinker Air Force Base contract. For line maintenance, we also have several improvements that we proposed for this coming year in our city budget. This includes centralization of new service meter inspections. New service meter inspections are currently being performed by the Utilities Customer Service Division. By centralizing these in line maintenance under their meter maintenance group, this is allowing the group that does the meter replacement, the repairs, the checkups, and the troubleshootings of the meter to manage the overall life cycle of the meter from inception to replacement, providing for overall better customer service and efficiencies of our services. We're also enhancing a position to add a project management position for line maintenance to enable the group to be able to manage outsourced contracts such as paving, landscape restoration, and other items as well, such as the new meter service inspections program and meter replacements. Some additional leading for results measures attributed to some of our utility services include percentage of wastewater overflow or backup calls responded to within 1 hour. In the green dotted line, you can see our target of 95%. In the orange solid line, you can see our actual performance over the years. The blue bar chart shows you the actual count of calls responded to within 1 hour. Another LFR measure, percentage of scheduled solid waste routes collected by 5 p.m. Our target is 95%. You can see our actual performance year over year, and in the blue bar chart, the number of routes collected by 5 p.m. as well. The City of Oklahoma City also conducts a satisfaction survey with residents every year. This is a snapshot of the most recent resident survey results, specifically for utility-related services. As you can see across the board for our various utilities and services that we provide, Oklahoma City Utilities is in the dark blue. Comparison to cities larger than 250,000 in population, and also compared to the national average, Oklahoma City Utilities continues to set the benchmark by a differential of about 33% with cities of similar or large size, and about over 25% compared to the national average. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Questions for Vanessa? Annual rate revenues combined for water, wastewater, and solid waste is $517 million.
Yes, sir.
What was it this year?
This year, we're projecting approximately 247 for water, 142 for wastewater, and approximately 73 million for solid waste.
Okay, but I couldn't add that up real quick in my head. So, but there's a delta there between the two.
Yes, sir.
And so what's the growth rate in rate revenue?
We budget for about 1.5% growth rate related to customers. We already had a rate adjustment built in of approximately 5%.
Okay.
With
Now,
the additional rate adjustment that was implemented and approved by City Council, that provided for an additional 5%.
Okay. So basically 6.5% increase, 5 of it is by rate increase and 1.5% by growth.
About 11%.
Okay, I missed that. So it's how much? It's 11% rate increase, or not 11% rate increase, or 11% revenue increase?
Yes, sir.
And of that, how much of it is rate and how much is growth?
1.5% is related to growth, and the remainder is for rate revenue adjustments.
I'm missing something, because you just said 11%. And so if it's 1.5% by growth.
So the 1.5% by growth is the whole amount.
Uh-huh.
And then we had, I think it's a total of about 8% for rates. There was 5% already there and another 3% was added, if I'm not mistaken. Is that
Okay.
about right, Vanessa?
We can confirm and get that number back.
Yeah, if you could, I'd be interested in that, so. All right.
Let me ask you an easy question. The annual survey you talked about,
Yes.
when will we be doing that next, and how do we publish that information out to our ratepayers?
So that's our annual resident survey,
Okay.
and we make that available. You know, we'll present it at council, but make it available on okc.gov. And I think we might even put something, I don't remember if we put something on utility bills to let people know about that. I'm not sure about that. Do you
If we
recall?
don't, we should.
Yeah. But we try to make it as available as we can. It'll be this summer when we do it again.
All right. Other questions regarding the annual budget?
Great presentation, thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Is there a motion for approval? Motion second, and it passes. Next up are some opportunities for executive session. The first one is item C1, and it's recommended we go into executive session as stated on the agenda for the case of ASI Construction versus the City of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma Water Utilities Trust, and Freeze Nichols. Is there a motion to go into executive session? And it passes, and we'll do that at the heel of the docket. Item D is enter into executive session on the case of Vadnais Trenchless Services versus Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust, Tri Design Group, and AECom Technical Services. Motion to go into executive session? And it passes, and we'll do that at the heel of the agenda. And the last one is to go into the executive session on advice of counsel for the case of Tyree Huckleberry versus the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust and the City of Oklahoma City. Motion? Motion second. It passes, and we'll go to an executive session. Are there any items from trustees today? Any items for Mr. Browning?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would like to offer my appreciation to everyone involved in the capital and the annual budget prep. Good work, hard work, but thank you very much for all of your diligence in that regard. The next item is the lake report. They're all full, except for Draper. It's about 5 inches below full pool.
And they're getting fuller.
And it's getting fuller today, so. With that, I have nothing else to add, Mr. Chairman.
I'm not advised if any citizens have signed up to be heard, so therefore we will go into executive session. We'll be back. I think it's a little full, but overflows. We are back from executive session. We are now in open session. There's no further business to come before the trust, therefore, we're adjourned.